Hi, biology students. It's Mrs. Smith here. I had a couple of questions about ionic and covalent bonding, and so I wanted to do a quick little video for you to kind of go over some examples to help you with that ionic and covalent bonding sheet. So the first thing I'm going to go over is covalent, and remember that covalent bonds are a sharing of electrons. So these are going to be ones that are going to have usually a number where it would be harder for them to give away or be harder for them to gain. And so it's easier to share. And so I kind of talk about this with my students as if you're going to the movies with someone and you're going to buy a big barrel of popcorn, instead of somebody giving you $5, if it costs $10 to get that and you only have five, if you both put in those $5, then you have enough money to get that big barrel of popcorn and you're going to share it together. So when we're talking about covalent bonds, the other thing that I usually tell my students as a helpful hint is the number of electrons that they need is going to equal the number of electrons that they're going to share. So what do I mean by that? Okay, if I have fluorine, okay, and fluorine has 7 valence electrons, and I'm going to do the Lewis dot diagram structure on this just to make it a little bit quicker. Okay, they have 7 valence electrons, or 7 electrons in the outermost ring. So what they need is they need 1 more valence electron. So yes, fluorine could do ionic bonding, but if there's another fluorine nearby, and that fluorine also has 7 valence electrons, then that one only needs 1 more. But if they were to do ionic bonding and give one away, that would mean then that this fluorine was only left with 6. So instead they share, and we show that using circles. I kind of think about it like a Venn diagram. So there is the 7 from that fluorine. Here's the one they're going to share to the other fluorine. And so when I link them all together with circles, they are sharing those 2 electrons. So now this fluorine has 8. And this fluorine has 8. And so they are sharing those electrons, and that's a covalent bond. So there's an example that kind of hopefully will help you with the covalent. For the ionic bonding, ionic is a transfer of electrons. And so when we talk about a transfer of electrons, we can also talk about that as being a stealing, but really it's a transfer. And so the transfer then causes something called ions, where we have a charge to the atom. And so the charges, the opposite charges, are going to cause those atoms to want to be together. Opposites attract. And so they're going to attract together and create an ionic bond. So if we have something like lithium, so lithium has 1 valence electron in its outermost ring. And then we have fluorine, which has 7. And again, I'm showing you the shorthand. I'm showing you using the Lewis dot diagrams. On the sheet, you're actually doing the full diagrams. And so you would have it being shown with all of the rings in there. Okay, but for the purposes of this, I'm just doing shorthand and showing you the dot diagrams. And so if you have 1 valence electron in the outermost ring, then you show that for lithium, it's easier if it gives it away. And so I am going to show you lithium's full ring too, just to make a point. So if you have 1 valence electron in the outer ring and lithium gives this away, notice how the ring underneath then, so if I gave this one away and I erase this outermost ring, then the ring underneath would now be full. And so giving 1 valence electron away is a lot more efficient than getting 7 more to fill that outer ring. Because remember, the first energy level can only hold 2 electrons, the second and so on. We're looking for those magic 8. So lithium's going to give that away. So we show that by an arrow. So an arrow goes to the other electron. That's going to cause the ionic bond. So if we're going to show that again, we'd show it like this. showing a single bond, a pair of electrons. But what happens is when this one gives it away, it actually becomes more positive. So the charge on this atom is going to become +1. For this atom, it's now gained a negative electron. And so the charge is -1. If it were to gain 2 to that specific element, then it would be -2 or -3 if it got 3, and so on and so forth. So the examples that you're doing for the ionic bond, you have to show the arrow as well as the charges. And that's going to help us to know that you understand ionic and covalent bonding. Hope that helped a little bit. Ask Mr. Suter and I if you have any further questions.